The HOA president slammed a seized property sign into my front lawn, claiming I had violated community bylaws. She actually laughed when I warned her she was making a catastrophic legal mistake. She genuinely believed she was the highest authority within the neighborhood. What she didn't know was that when we met in court the next morning, I wouldn't be sitting at the defense table, I'd be sitting on the bench as the federal judge assigned to investigate her entire organization. It was a Saturday morning, the kind you grind all week to finally enjoy. I was on my porch, savoring the silence and a fresh cup of coffee. I had bought this house only 3 months earlier. It was supposed to be my retreat from the city, a place where I could leave work behind. But apparently, peace was against the rules in this neighborhood. A black SUV with HOA enforcement decals screeched to a stop in front of my driveway. Out stepped a woman, I would later learn, was Patricia, the self-anointed queen of the homeowners association. And she wasn't alone. 2 men trailed behind her, carrying tools and a large wooden sign. She marched up my walkway like she was invading foreign territory. She didn't knock. She simply stood at the foot of my steps and cleared her throat loudly. "Excuse me," she shouted, even though I was staring directly at her. "You violate Code 402. A pause. Section B. Look, another sip of coffee. Good morning to you too. And what exactly is Section B? Failure to maintain aesthetic compliance," she snapped, pointing a perfectly manicured finger at my lawn. "Your grass is a 1/4 inch too high. Your mailbox is the wrong shade of beige. And that truck in your driveway? It's an eyesore. We've sent you 3 warning letters. I haven't received a single letter," I said calmly. "That's not my problem," Patricia scoffed. "Since you failed to pay the fines, which now total $5,000, the HOA is exercising its right to place a lien on this property. As of this moment, this house is under foreclosure review," she signaled to the 2 men. They marched onto my lawn and began hammering a massive, humiliating sign into my grass. "Property seized. HOA. Foreclosure." My blood began to heat, but I forced myself to stay seated. I've dealt with cartel leaders, organized crime bosses, and corrupt politicians. A suburban tyrant wasn't going to be the one to make me lose my composure. "Patricia," I said, keeping my voice low, "you don't want to do this. You are trespassing, and you are harassing a federal employee." She laughed a high, mocking sound. "Federal employee? What are you, a mailman? Listen to me. I am the law in this community. Unless you have $5,000 in cash right now, get off my property." I rose slowly. "I'll see you in court, Patricia." "Oh, I can't wait," she smirked. "We have the best lawyers in the state. You'll be homeless by Tuesday." She turned, flipped her hair, and strutted back to her SUV, leaving the ugly sign planted in my lawn. She thought she had won. She thought she had intimidated yet another resident. What she didn't know was that the warning letters she claimed to have sent were never mailed, a tactic I had seen countless times in fraud cases. And she certainly had no clue that the mailman she had just mocked had recently been appointed to the U.S. District Court, and that her HOA was already under investigation for embezzlement. I picked up my phone and dialed my clerk. "Sarah, pull the docket for the Pine Creek HOA versus residents case and tell the bailiff to prep the courtroom. I'm taking this one personally." Monday morning arrived. The courtroom was packed. Patricia sat at the plaintiff's table, looking smug, wearing a bright pink blazer, whispering to her high-priced attorney. They were likely joking about how quickly they'd be tossing me out of my house. I wasn't in the room yet. I was in my chambers putting on my black robe. I looked at myself in the mirror as I adjusted the collar. The man she had yelled at on the porch had vanished. The judge had arrived. I walked toward the door. "All rise." The bailiff's voice thundered across the courtroom. The rustling stopped as everyone stood. Patricia looked bored, checking her nails, barely glancing toward the bench to see who was walking up. I ascended the steps and took my seat. "Be seated." Patricia sat, then looked up. The moment her eyes landed on me, time seemed to freeze. Her smile evaporated. Her jaw literally dropped. She blinked, stared again, then grabbed her lawyer's arm so hard I saw him wince. "That's him," she whispered loudly, panic rising. "That's the guy from the house. What is he doing up there?" Her lawyer, confused, whispered back. That's Judge Alexander Thorne. He's the presiding judge. No, she shrieked. He's the defendant. I seized his house on Saturday. I picked up my gavel. Bang. Order, I said. My voice wasn't raised, but authority echoed off every wall. Miss Patricia, if you speak out of turn again, I will have you held in contempt. I opened the file before me. We are here to discuss the case of Pine Creek HOA versus multiple residents regarding illegal fines and property seizure. However, it appears I have some first-hand evidence to add to the record. Patricia's lawyer stood, sweating. Your Honor, we move for a recusal. Conflict of interest. I leaned forward. Denied. You see, counselor, this is no longer merely a civil dispute. Over the weekend, your client attempted to extort a federal judge on his private property. That gave me probable cause to authorize an immediate audit of your HOA's finances. I signaled to the bailiff. He handed a thick stack of documents to Patricia. These papers demonstrate that you have been fabricating fines and pocketing the money. You didn't seize my house because of the grass height. You did it because you were running a Ponzi scheme disguised as a neighborhood committee. Patricia trembled. She looked small now, shaken, defeated, terrified. The arrogance had disappeared. Patricia Davis, I announced, I am hereby dissolving the Pine Creek HOA effective immediately. All fines against residents are void. Furthermore, I paused, based on the attempted extortion of a federal officer. I am revoking your bond. Bailiff, take the defendant into custody. The sound of real handcuffs locking around her wrists was far louder than the sign she'd hammered into my lawn. As deputies escorted her away, she looked back at me one last time. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I simply raised my gavel. Bang. Court is adjourned. That evening, I returned home and yanked the seized property sign out of my grass. I used it as firewood. It was the warmest fire I had ever enjoyed.